My name is Thomas, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast, Let's Talk About Gay Stuff. We're the podcast where we talk about the week in LGBTQ plus history. And while we're a crew that's based out of Houston, I am proud to call San Antonio my hometown. I'm so proud to be a part of this event that I would not have imagined myself being a part of 20 years ago. I honestly didn't see myself doing a podcast about LGBTQ plus history 20 years ago either, but hey, we all know that life has a lot of twists and turns more than any drag queen's going to give us on a runway on a Friday night. How I miss those days. So one of the cool things about our show is that we've come to understand the power that comes with coming out and being visible and living your truth. Each week we talk about these events and these icons and trailblazers from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s who are fighting for our rights when it was illegal for gay people to have sex, when it was illegal for gay people to get married, when gay people could be fired for their jobs just for being gay. Society viewed this group of people, our forefathers and mothers, as less than just because they were attracted to someone of the same sex. Our podcast, though, has taught us that these pioneering souls fought so that they could live freely, but they also had this great perspective that they knew the impact of being out wasn't just important for themselves, but it was also important for those around them. It was important for their friends, their family members, people in small towns across America. When I came out in 2008, it was definitely easier for me than it was for all those trailblazers because they came out, because they fought that for us, for equality. And it was much more acceptable because we had people like Ellen, who was leading one of the top talk shows on TV. And while we still had active movements that were against us, like gay marriage, with the fight against gay marriage, we still couldn't serve openly in the military. We could still get fired for being gay. I knew it was important to come out. Coming out for me, though, was easy in one sense because I had a good support network around me in terms of my family and friends. But it was hard because I didn't have any gay friends or people that I knew personally in my network that I could really connect to and talk about that journey. I was too scared. And so I knew, though, when I came out that my parents loved me dearly and they had raised a very confident son who had good skills and that they had impressed upon me that they loved me no matter who I was. They spent every day of my life making sure that I knew that. But I also knew that it was going to be very much an awakening for them because they had pictured me getting married to a woman, having kids, and they were going to have grandkids all from me, and I was about to shake out that world. I also knew my friends were in for an awakening because while I knew we had a shared sense of values, we had no gay friends. And so when I came out, I knew that it was going to be a shock for many of them. But I did come out the typical way. I didn't have a dramatic tell-all dinner. I basically came out over a round of shots and said, hey, you know what? I may or may not be dating a guy, which is definitely a unique way to do it. And it is not everyone's cup of tea or tequila or Jaeger was what we were drinking at the time. But nonetheless, I came out and I knew that I was going to still have my friends on the other side. And those that weren't comfortable with me being gay were going to have to either get over it or we were going to part ways, which in some instances I lost some good friends. And while I was comfortable with outside of work, I knew inside of work was going to be very difficult for me because I had to think about what that was going to do for my career. I spent all this time trying to build up an education and work experiences so that I could have a successful career. What was being an out gay person in oil and gas and the good old boy network going to do for me personally in my career? That said, I had to come out for my own mental health, for my partner at the time, for out of respect for him, as well as for the people that I was managing and the people that were coming up behind me. I had to set an example, not just for the gay ones, but also, or the LGBTQ ones, but also for the ones who didn't know LGBTQ people. I got to show them what it was like to be gay, all the good and the bad, and the happy and the sad, and the boring, and how me and my partner at the time could be a boring straight couple just like everyone else. What I've learned, though, is everyone's journey is different, but everyone's is important. And as we've learned from the trailblazers that we talk about in the podcast, Let's Talk About Gay Stuff, and from my own experience, being visible is important for the person coming out to live their life, their truth, not just for themselves, but the people around them. And while we can't make it possible for everyone to come out at a young age so they can spend less time fighting their truth and more time living it, we can set an example by being out and being proud and showing all the boring and the happy and the sad. So for those of us living out proudly, every day we set an example. So let's go out and be the good kind.